Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacarja Ashtotarita Shishimad Abhay Charanarvindam Bhakti Viranta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Sangstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navarit Dham Ki Jai Gangamaya Jamunamaya Ki Jai Shrimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Shrimati Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagni Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai Samveda Bhaktivinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Gadim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramanandamaravam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram. So, reflecting on Srila Prabhupada's arrival address in Miami, he said, this is a very nice place. Maybe he meant because in Miami you get mangoes. They have a mango season in Miami, right? So anyway, Srila Prabhupada mentions that Krishna is not so liberal like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna demands first you surrender. Right? But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's freely delivering love of Godhead. Liberally. But we also saw that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he delivered very elevated persons. Like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was a householder, but he was so scholarly and learned that the sannyasis would come and learn from him, Vedanta. And he was also thinking that this Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so attractive, young sannyasi. He may fall down to the Maya, right? So I should teach him Vedanta. But just the opposite. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught him how to be a devotee. He delivered Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And Ramananda Roy, also an elevated person. But we see that Lord Nityananda, he delivered the most fallen, Jagai and Madai. So he's even more liberal than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we can say that Srila Prabhupada, he's even more liberal. Because he delivered so many Jagais and Madais. So, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned, we should take shelter of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and especially we should take shelter of Srila Prabhupada, because he's so merciful. Who can imagine how anyone from the West who is steeped in sinful activities, you name the sin, they're performing it. Somehow they got this idea to chant the holy name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Only the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Because of Srila Prabhupada's intense love for Krishna, his intense desire to please his spiritual master, the Lord within the heart enlightened these fallen, conditioned souls who had no hope, no pious credits oh, this chanting is very nice, let me chant. That's mercy, extreme mercy. So, in 1975, we had the opportunity to go to in 74 I came to the Gaur Purnima festival in Mayapur, and we came here also to Vrindavan. But that time, this was a construction site. Just after Gaur Purnima, we came here, and the only thing that was complete was Srila Prabhupada's quarters. And everything else was, we lived in Fogal Ashram, and we came here one day, and Srila Prabhupada came into his room, and all devotees were there. It's packed. Inside the room was completely packed. This is in 74. And I was standing right next to this one devotee. We were outside because there were so many devotees inside Prabhupada's room, we couldn't get inside. And I didn't look to see who it was, but Prabhupada came into his room very graciously and sat down at his table. And this devotee next to me spontaneously said, "Chant Hare Krishna and be happy," just by seeing Prabhupada. And I looked to see who it was, and it was Vishnu Jan Maharaj. So he had this spontaneous emotion just by seeing Srila Prabhupada. So as Daivi Shakti Mataji mentioned, in that day that the front room was not a room, it was actually a veranda. So I had this idea that I'll get inside the room, although it was very packed with devotees. So I kind of got in the door, and Srila Prabhupada's small chair, that it's still there in one room where he used to sit and take his prasadam, was right by the door. So I had to step over that chair to get in the room. And because it was a construction site, my feet had dirt on them. So when I stepped over the chair, which was covered in this white, nice cushion, some dirt got on the chair. And right next to me was Brahmananda. And when he saw the dirt on the chair, he got really angry. And I was sweeping it off. So then, one other brahmachari, he did the same thing that I did to get inside the room, and he also stepped over the chair. And he also got mud on the cushion. So then I thought, okay, now Brahmananda will kill him. And Brahmananda, I could see his face, he was very angry. But then when he saw who it was, he had a big smile on his face, and he was okay. And it turned out to be Rameshwar, who was a brahmachari at that time, in 1974. And I learned later that he was connected with publishing Srila Prabhupada's books. So I thought, well, you should get into that, publishing books. So that was in 1974. And one amazing thing at that time, the room was filled with devotees, and there was a small child right in front of Prabhupada's desk. And there was something on the desk that the child was interested in. So Prabhupada was playing with the child. He'd show that thing and then pull it back, and the child would try to get it. And he was oblivious to the room filled with all the disciples, and he was just having a good time with that little child. So anyway, that was in 74. When we were have the class down at Fogal Ashram, and the Prabhupada would come there, and it was just like, it was early in the morning, it was still dark, and there'd be one light bulb for the whole class. And while Prabhupada was giving class, one devotee started snoring. And Prabhupada said, "What is that?" He got really angry, and he said, "Go away from here, go!" Threw him out, right? So the devotee got up and was like walking away from the class, and Prabhupada said, "No, stand in the back. You can stand in the back." So Srila Prabhupada didn't like devotees to sleep during the class. But anyway, the next Gaur Purnima festival came. I had gotten first initiation in Mayapur, so the letter came from Srila Prabhupada that as many devotees as possible should come to the Gaur Purnima festival. And in '74, our temple president, Bhakti Madhurya Govinda Maharaj, who at that time was Makanlal, he practically let everybody go to the festival. Right? He just left one pujari back. But this time he was more cautious because, devotees didn't go out on Sankirtan and the bills piled up, so he decided that, not everybody can go this year. But the letter said, as many devotees should come, especially those that are ready for second initiation. So I was ready for second initiation. And so I got to go again. And we went to the Mayapur festival. And because after the Mayapur festival, there was this gap, as Mataji was mentioning yesterday, between Ram Navami and Gaur Purnima, then they took us down to Hyderabad. So we got in this train, and the whole bogie was filled with devotees, and we went through Orissa, then we came to Visakhapatnam. And in Visakhapatnam, one interesting thing happened. Srila Prabhupada's godbrother got on the train, Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj. And he brought these big tokaris, baskets of lemon rice. So he gave all the devotees a leaf plate, and he was personally feeding the devotees with this lemon rice. Down south they like rice, lemon rice, tomato rice, dahi rice, it's all rice. So they were, he had this loving relationship with all the devotees that were the senior devotees that were there. Tamal Krishnamar was there, and Achyutananda Swami was there, and all these devotees, he had this lively conversation with them as he was serving them out prasadam. And then the train started to go. And I got into anxiety because Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj didn't get off the train. And the train's leaving, But he had it already arranged that he would go to the next station and be with the devotees and then get off the train. So we came to Hyderabad, and there was a big Pandal program every night in this one ground. There must have been 10,000 people. And usually Srila Prabhupada's lectures are 35, 40 minutes, but in these lectures he was speaking more than 1 hour. And then he would take questions, and he would answer the questions to the people. So the programs were going on for a long time. And I remember this one person asked a question. They would write it on a piece of paper, and Achyutananda would read it out, what the question was. So one question was, can you show some mystic powers? They have these babas that do, some magical, people think it's mystical, but it's magic, Like this one guy, he would have a Shiva linga come out of his mouth, And people go, oh, but it was a sleight of hand. And one person figured it out. What he would do was, he would take water and drink the water, and then he would take a cloth and wipe his mouth. So when he wiped his mouth, that's when he put the Shiva linga in there, right? And then a few minutes later, he'd be like, it's coming out of him or something, But it's a sleight of hand, magic trick. But people said, oh, Bhagawan, this is Bhagawan. So anyway, they're asking Srila Prabhupada, can you show some mystic powers? And Srila Prabhupada said that the devotee of the Lord is not interested in mystic powers. But the devotee, whatever is required for the service of Krishna, Krishna empowers the devotee to do that. Right? So like that he was preaching. And then at the end of his preaching he said, but if you want to see mystic powers, here, I can turn all these malechas I've turned into brahmanas. That is my mystic powers. And all the devotees went, Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai. And at the end of the lecture, Prabhupada would come down from the stage, and like all 10,000 people wanted to touch him, you know? They were so excited. And what they did was that all the sannyasis, they took their dandas, and there was like Brahmananda and Gargamuni, Yashodananda, and Sudama. They put their dandas length to length, and they made a barrier so that Prabhupada could get to his car after the lecture. And so like that we went Sharmanar in Hyderabad, and we did Harinam Sankirtan, and it was, you know, a very nice program. So then again we got in a train, and we came to Vrindavan, and I noticed that there, you know, the train was all devotees, but there was this one saffron-dressed, older than most of us, you know, we were all like 20 or something, maybe a little older than 20, but this was an older person, and he was sitting right by the bathroom on a suitcase with saffron. And he didn't speak to anybody, Indian devotee. And I thought, he's not with us, maybe he just got in the train, because, you know, the people would do that. They'd get in the train, they didn't have a reservation, and they would just ride along. And I thought, he's like that, he's riding along with us. So then we came to Vrindavan, and the deities were up there. There was installation, as we saw in the photographs yesterday, and everything. Prabhupada was patiently coming down every day for sitting in the yajna, and they would chant mantras, and they would decorate his forehead with different, kumkum and turmeric, and he seemed like he was just kind of tolerating whatever they wanted to do, but he was insisting that the Harinam Sankirtan should go on, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So, like that, things were going on, and during this function, on one of the days, the devotees from New York, they made a drama, right? And the drama was the fight between Bhima and Jarsand, the killing of Jarsand. So Prabhupada was sitting here in the courtyard, above the courtyard, and next to him was the governor of Uttar Pradesh, Mr. Channa Reddy. So I was standing right behind Srila Prabhupada, and during the whole play, Srila Prabhupada was explaining to the governor, what is this drama? And the devotees from New York made a very nice drama, and the governor enjoyed it, and Srila Prabhupada enjoyed it very much. So then the installation was over. Srila Prabhupada did the first artik, and there were many policemen here because of the governor's presence. So like in the front there were police, and Srila Prabhupada offered the artik to Krishna Balaram, the first artik. And I remember after that, all the senior devotees were up there to offer the next artik after that. But when Srila Prabhupada turned around with the ghee lamp to offer it to the devotees, there's a photograph of it, he has this oceanic smile on his face. He was in complete ecstasy that now, you know, ISKCON had their Krishna Balaram Mandir for the benefit of all the devotees and all the people that come. And even Srila Prabhupada mentioned on a morning walk, he said, now you have Balaram. He said, Balaram is very merciful. He said, always pray to Balaram because he will free you from all your material desires. Balaram is very merciful. Then Srila Prabhupada, after that was over, on Balaram's Ras Purnima, they had initiations. And I had heard that somebody had approached Srila Prabhupada if Tripurari could get initiated as a sannyasi. Actually, there was a moratorium on sannyas because some of the earlier sannyasis, they had fallen down and left the sannyas order. So for some time, Prabhupada didn't give any sannyas initiations. But they asked for Tripurari. And Prabhupada said, okay, he can take. And they said, when? He said, well, he can take tomorrow. That was supposed to be initiations the next day. Out here in the same courtyard, many devotees were there for getting second initiation. And by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, I was also there. And Chutananda, he was doing the fire sacrifice. And Srila Prabhupada mercifully oversaw that, sitting right there. Some nice photographs of him sitting right where this marble section comes out into the courtyard. And one devotee was holding an umbrella over his head from the sun. And so they did the fire sacrifice. And just after the fire sacrifice, Srila Prabhupada went back to his room. And they had decorated the Yajna Kund by different fruits. Some pineapple apples, this, that. So as soon as the fire sacrifice was over, the devotees started grabbing those fruits, right? And then Achyutananda, who was doing the fire sacrifice, said, "What is this nonsense? Why are you grabbing these things? Put it back right now." And the devotees sheepishly put all the fruits back. And then he took his sannyas thing and he started collecting all the fruits. So after that, we were supposed to go to Srila Prabhupada's room and get our Brahmin's threads. And there was a big line. When I went in, there was a big line. And so Srila Prabhupada, when I went into Prabhupada's quarters, I was knelt down there. It seemed like Srila Prabhupada was completely effulgent and very high, right? And then he showed me how to chant. And he said, okay, raise your arm, and he was going to put the thread on me. And by mistake, I raised my left arm, and he said, no, right. So I put up my right hand, and then he put the thread on me. So he was checking, actually. He said, so when did you get first initiation? And I said 1 year ago, because that was the standard. You're supposed to wait 1 year of chanting, and after first initiation, you could get second. So I said, yes, 1 year before in Mayapur. He said, okay, okay. And then he said, are you chanting your 16 rounds? And I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. He said, okay. And that should have been the message that now you can go, right? But because I was with Srila Prabhupada, it seemed like, you know, the perfection of everything. I was just there with him, and it never entered into my mind what I should do next. So then he said, you tell the others they can come tomorrow. You'll be the last one today, and the rest should come and see me tomorrow for their Brahmin's threads and the mantra. And even then I didn't get the hint, right? And I was just there with Prabhupada. You kind of lose track of time with Srila Prabhupada and in the mood of awe and reverence. So then finally said, okay, you can go. So then I offered my obeisances and I went outside. And actually there was just one more devotee, Madhu Sevita, that was waiting. They had already told the others to come the next day. So Srila Prabhupada is very kind and merciful, and he's given us this Krishna Balaram Mandir. And you know, that time it was difficult to see what the future is, but Prabhupada knew what the future would be. In those days, very few people were coming, and people really didn't know whether they should come or not. They used to call it the Angrez Mandir, Angrez Mandir. And, but gradually we can see Prabhupada's vision of the future, how popular this temple is now. So many people are coming. In those days, like Mataji was saying, you couldn't even get a rickshaw to go down the Loy Bazaar because they didn't want, there were nobody out here actually. But due to the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, so many people are coming, so many people are getting Krishna Prasadam, hearing the holy name, all by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So we are greatly indebted to him for taking the effort to establish this Krishna Balaram Mandir. And we should dedicate ourselves to the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is also the mission of Srila Prabhupada, that all the conditioned souls should develop love of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot. Thanks for reminding me. So during the initiation, there were two sannyasis. One was Tripurari, and there was another Indian gentleman who was getting sannyas also at the same time, and that was the same person that I saw on the train, who was sitting back by the bathroom very humbly, and it was Gaur Govinda Maharaj. Thanks for reminding me. Jai, Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Even many Prabhupada disciples did not have the chance to see Prabhupada or be intimately with him. So what do you think is the best way to feel Prabhupada's presence so that we actually have a connection with Prabhupada?
Well, as Vaisheshika Prabhu mentions in his book, Our Family Business, we should try to do some heavy lifting. Take some responsibility for Srila Prabhupada. And, it doesn't have to be some humongous service. It could be some simple service, but try to do it steadily and try to do it carefully. And definitely one is in connection with Srila Prabhupada like that, through his service. And through his books, he came to the airport in Denver, and the newspaper, there were reporters there. They were asking him questions, and one reporter asked him, what will happen to this movement after you die? And Srila Prabhupada said, I will never die. And all the devotees went, Hari Bol! He said, because I'll live forever in my books. So that's another way. Take some responsibility and also read Srila Prabhupada's books. Srila Prabhupada said, whatever I said was in my books. So read the books, apply the books by doing service for the pleasure of Krishna Balaram, Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar, and Gaur Nitai. And definitely the connection will be there with Srila Prabhupada. Any other questions?
Mother Devi Shakti, no comments?
Old age, you forget stuff. I left my watch in the hotel in, where was it? Oh yeah, Rohini. But by Krishna's grace, I got my watch back. Thank you very much for listening. Srila Prabhupada ki. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.